I think when you've got a politician who has moved from one scandal to the next, it's undeniable that Vaughan Gething has totally divided his own party, that the Senedd has lost confidence in him, that he can't pass a budget. We're in politics to deliver things for our people. And the Senedd currently, under Vaughan Gething's leadership, is totally unable to deliver. So I think it's really important now that Vaughan Gething reflects on that and for the good of the country steps down so we can unify as a Senedd around a candidate who can actually legislate on behalf of the people of Wales.
Hello again. Well, opponents of the Welsh First Minister, Vaughan Gething, are closing in on him after a series of scandals during his very short period in office. He sacked a minister after accusing her of leaking, but the news site in question confirmed that she hadn't done so. He also accepted donations from a company whose owner he has twice been convicted of environmental offences. That was during his period running to succeed Mark Drakeford as leader of the Labour contingent in Wales. But he's vowed to carry on with the job. Let's speak to the Welsh Conservative member of the Senedd, Tom Giffard. Mr. Giffard, thank you for joining us. There's already been one vote of no confidence in Vaughan Gething, and he survived. So how are things going to change?
Well, first of all, it's important to remember that there has been a vote of no confidence in Vaughan Gething. He did lose that vote, but he chose to ignore it.
Well, he can do that again, can't he?
Well, what we're doing this week is slightly different. So what we're doing is using the Government of Wales Act to force the First Minister to release the evidence by which he reached the conclusion to sack the former minister. And what you've got here is a tale of two stories, in a sense. You've got the former minister saying she didn't release the evidence, Vaughan Gething himself saying that he believes that she did. And there's quite a long gap between those two things. Now, the news site in question, Nation Cymru, have come out and said, well, it wasn't the minister in question who released the information. So it begs the question, how did the First Minister arrive at the decision he did in order to sack a minister? So what we're doing is calling on him with this motion, forcing him to release that evidence so that you've got that transparency and you've got that clarity at the centre of the decision-making of this government.
So basically it's making trouble within the Labour government, if you like. That's what you're doing.
Well, I wouldn't call it making trouble, right? He's the First Minister at the end of the day. He is someone who needs to act in a totally transparent way, and he kind of doesn't see it as his responsibility to do that. But at the end of the day, if we believe in open government, if we believe in transparency, and frankly, if we believe that a minister in this case deserves their day in court, if you like, then it's important that the First Minister releases that evidence. But secondly, I think it kind of plays into a wider picture where, his own group is totally divided under his leadership. The Senedd has lost confidence in him. He will be unable to pass a budget after the summer recess. And we've got 2 years till the next Senedd election. So the idea we can just limp on with Vaughan Gething as First Minister for 2 years, being totally unable to do anything, is absurd. So that's why we've taken this action. And that's ultimately why Vaughan Gething does need to stand down.
Well, on the other hand, Labour won a massive number of seats, 27 seats in Wales, in Westminster. Shouldn't that be taken as an endorsement of Labour in Wales?
No, I wouldn't. And actually, if you look at the UK-wide picture, Labour, if you like, underperformed their swing relative to the rest of the UK. And the First Minister was cited as a big reason for that. He accepted a £200,000 donation from a convicted criminal. Well, we later found out that company had been awarded £400,000 grant from the Development Bank of Wales, which Vaughan Gething oversaw. The whole thing just stinks, and people have had enough of Vaughan Gething. You remember in Scotland, Humza Yousaf resigning at the very notion of a vote of no confidence, whereas our First Minister in Wales has lost one and thinks he can still carry on. We can't go on like this.
You mentioned Humza Yousaf. Of course, we've also had the election defeat of Rishi Sunak. Vaughan Gething himself is also mixed race. Do you think there's an element of racism in all this?
No, I don't. And I think it's important that we hold our politicians to a really, really high standard and treat them as we would anybody else. And I think when you've got a politician who has moved from one scandal to the next, it's undeniable that Vaughan Gething has totally divided his own party, that the Senedd has lost confidence in him, that he can't pass a budget. We're in politics to deliver things for our people. And the Senedd currently, under Vaughan Gething's leadership, is totally unable to deliver. So I think it's really important now that Vaughan Gething reflects on that and, for the good of the country, steps down so we can unify as a Senedd around a candidate who can actually legislate on behalf of the people of Wales.
So you as a Welsh Conservative would be doing a favour to the ruling Welsh government?
Well, look, you always want an unpopular leader to stay in place politically, but actually, legislatively, we're here to deliver for the people of Wales, and we've got 2 years until the next Senedd election. So unless Vaughan Gething decides to call an early election, we're going to be stuck with him for 2 years, being totally unable to do anything for our constituents. So, as politically, if you like, convenient as it would be for us to want to keep a lame duck First Minister in place, ultimately we're in the business of delivering for our constituents, and quite frankly, Senedd members of whatever political stripe will be unable to deliver for their constituents, because you've got a Senedd completely gridlocked and in stasis, if you like, because of the leadership of Vaughan Gething and because of the division he's caused, not only in the Senedd, but within his own party.
Tom Giffard, Welsh Conservative, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
I will now recommend to His Majesty the appointment of Vaughan Gething as First Minister, and I invite Vaughan Gething to address the Senedd.
Diolch, Deputy Llywydd, a diolch aelodau.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, and thank you to the members who have supported my nomination today.
Members who have supported my nomination today. I am particularly grateful to my predecessor, Mark Drakeford, for his nomination and for the support that he has offered me, not just in recent days, but through the many years that we have worked so closely together. I don't think any of us would ever want to live through those dark days of the pandemic again. But, like other colleagues here, I was incredibly grateful to have Mark as our First Minister through that time. History will rightly judge Mark for the compassionate, collegiate and ethical leadership that shone through those dark days for our nation. It is said that no legacy is so rich as honesty. Mark's leadership is characterised by those words. Yesterday's contribution placed that firmly on the record once more. So can I today, once again, say diolch yn fawr, Mark, for everything that you have done for Wales.